rise for the pledge of allegiance. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Here.
Present.
Butcher.
Here.
Schiesky. Here. Readers.
Here.
Funkhauser.
Here.
Tulis.
Here.
Peterson. Quorum is established.
Any amendments to tonight's agenda? Hearing none, we do have two presentations this evening. I do have a couple of Eagle Scouts here. And before I call our Eagle Scouts up, I would like to explain to everyone in the audience the significance of the Eagle Scout rank. So Webster's dictionary describes an eagle as a large bird of prey with sharp vision and powerful wings, famous for their strength, size, grace, and keen vision. It is a national emblem for the United States. Though the eagle is found throughout the world, it is never found in abundance. It is always rare and is always a superb specimen. In scouting, the eagle stands for strength of character and for knowledge of all phases of scouting. The eagle represents an understanding of community and nation and a deep respect for both. The eagle is a symbol of what a young man has done, as well as what that young man will do and will be when he grows to manhood. The eagle is a leader. The eagle is respected both by his peers and by his adult leaders. The Eagle Scout Award is the highest award available to youth members of the Boy Scouts of America. It represents many years of dedicated effort and the successful completion of a long process which starts when a young man becomes a Boy Scout. It is a demonstration of how people, working together, can truly help mold a young man with a solid sense of leadership, citizenship, and responsibility. Not every boy, nor every scout, qualifies for the high rank of Eagle. The physical requirements are strenuous, as set forth in the required merit badges. Mental requirements are unusual and require much more than average intelligence. Perhaps an even more difficult, more important requirement for the Eagle rank is a personal character of the scout as reflected in his attitudes toward God and the ideals of scouting, as reflected in his cooperation and service to others in church, the home, school, and community. The applicant must have a high degree of the spirit of cheerful service to others, which is the basis of good citizenship. The attainment of the Eagle Scout rank is indeed the highest honor that a scout may achieve. When a boy enters scouting, in the 3 parts of the scout oath, he promises upon his honor to do his best, to do his duty, first to God and his country, second to other people by helping them at all times, and third to himself by keeping himself physically strong, mentally awake, and morally straight. Likewise, in the Scout law, he promises to be trustworthy, loyal, helpful, friendly, courteous, kind, obedient, cheerful, thrifty, brave, clean, and reverent. Each is an important foundation in the building of strong character. The Eagle Scout is one who has taken the Scout oath and law, to which he has promised, and embodied them within his character. The oath and law have become a part of him. They guide and direct him. Very few scouts make it this far, only about 2% of all scouts. It is a great achievement for all parties involved: the scout, his family, his community, his unit, and the Boy Scouts of America. Awarding the Eagle is an important and serious matter. It is a climax and goal toward which the scout has been working for many years. It is the culmination of the efforts of the parents and leaders of the scout. It is definitely an occasion for pride and for joy. And with that, I would like to call our 2 Eagle Scouts forward, Mr. Matt Bazan and Mr. Sam Gillespie. Congratulations, Matthew. Congratulations, Sam. And this is 2 young men that I had the opportunity to watch as scouts this big. I mean, these are 2 boys that I would say are the epitome of Eagle Scouts. I mean, service to others has always been in their blood. So I'd like to present both of you boys with a Eagle Scout plaque on behalf of the city and the city council. Matthew, this one's for you since your name is designed to start with being for my boy. I was wondering, man, if you could just tell us a little bit about the Eagle Scout project and what you did for the community.
Thank you. For my Eagle Scout project, we had about 40 volunteers. We rebuilt the archery range at Silver Spring State Park. That included rebuilding the targets and the target stands, repainting their shooting stands, their quiver posts, their range signs, and rebuilding their quiver posts, as well as reposting their yardage markers.
How many volunteers did you have, you said?
About 40.
About 40 people. How many hours?
220 man hours.
220 man hours. That's a significant achievement. And Samuel, congratulations, son. There's a plaque for you, and I would like you to tell the audience a little bit about your Eagle Scout project.
So my project had about 38 volunteers and was 224 man hours. It was at Lion Farm here in Yorkville, and we were preserving the monarch butterfly species as it is currently going endangered. And we had 3 18 by 24 subplots of pro butterfly plants, so milkweed and swamp milkweed and other species. It was a great project for not only the species of the monarch butterfly, but also the community in Lion Farm.
All right, well, thank you, Ben, and I tell you, once an Eagle Scout, always an Eagle Scout, and very proud of you boys. Let's get everybody. All right, thank you, gentlemen. Well, look there. Carol, are you ready to come forward?
Sure,
Or you want me to come to you?
whatever you want.
Now, Carol is probably the longest serving public servant the city has probably ever seen. You've been here, you've been serving the city a long, long time. I'd like to honor Carol for her service on the park board. And before we start, Lisa sent me a little email on some of your service I would like to read. Carol LaChance served on the library board since 1992. She helped the library build a new addition to the library in 2007. In 2017, she was on the committee that selected the new library director. She helped create a new strategic plan for the future of the organization that included the waiving of program fees and charges for DVD rentals. The library is moving forward in the right direction thanks to the dedication of our board members like Carol. Carol will be missed, and wish her well in her new home in Houston. And I guess Alyssa's on vacation, so she couldn't be here.
Yeah, I know.
And Carol, we have for you a certificate from the City Council. A certificate of appreciation. The Mayor and City Council of the United City of Yorkville present this certificate to Carol LaChance with our deepest gratitude for the time she volunteered for our library board from June 1992 through April 2019. So thank you very much, Carol.
I would like to say thank you for some of our board members to come, and Michelle, our retired director, and my family, Dave was and Melissa was. And I don't know, I just really, and thank to you too, one of the mayors I remember you. I'm sure you remember me. But I just was glad that I could go this far. And I probably still stay, but gotta move. Family's moving, so I have to move. So thank you very much.
Okay, thank you again for all your service. Okay, next we'll take citizen comments on any items that are on the agenda this evening.
Hi everyone, my name is Amy Sesich. I am a county board member and I live in Raintree subdivision. You guys are supposed to be talking about the Raintree deal with Lennar tonight, hopefully. So I know we had some comments from our HOA president at our county meeting and they were in favor of this, so we wanted to say that we are also in favor of this and we need you guys to vote on it tonight. Thank you.
Do we have any other citizen comments? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda. Roll call, please.
Aye.
Hilshewski,
Aye.
Tarulis,
Aye.
Reuters,
Aye.
Funkhauser,
Aye.
Coe,
Aye.
Peterson,
Aye.
Fletcher.
Aye.
Motion passes.
I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes of the regular city council meeting of March 26, 2019, and April 9, 2019, as presented.
So moved.
Comments, questions, or corrections on the minutes? All those in favor of approving as presented, please state aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, moving on to mayor's report. I'll entertain a motion to approve a resolution approving a reciprocal agreement for the exchange of information obtained pursuant to the Simplified Municipal Telecommunications Tax Act with the Illinois Department of Revenue, and authorize the mayor and city clerk to execute.
Second.
Comments or questions on that one? Roll call, please.
Funkhauser,
Aye.
Hilshewski,
Aye.
Peterson,
Aye.
Coe,
Aye.
Fletcher,
Aye.
Reuters,
Aye.
Tarulis,
Aye.
Luciano.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Okay, we have no committee reports, nothing from the park board. Under PZC, we have a mile and a half review. I'll entertain a motion to authorize staff to notify Kendall County that the city council does not have any objections to the rezoning petition of 8225 Galena Road.
Second.
Comments, questions? Roll call, please.
Hilshewski,
Aye.
Peterson,
Aye.
Coe,
Aye.
Fletcher,
Aye.
Reuters,
Aye.
Tarulis,
Aye.
Luciano,
Aye.
Funkhauser.
Aye.
Motion passes.
I'll entertain a motion to approve an ordinance approving the final plat of re-subdivision of lots 202, 232, 239, 251, 287, 290, 3033, and 3034 of Grain Reserve Unit 23, and authorize the mayor and city clerk to execute.
Second.
Comments, questions? Roll call, please.
Peterson,
Aye.
Coe,
Aye.
Fletcher,
Aye.
Reuters,
Aye.
Tarulis,
Aye.
Luciano,
Aye.
Funkhauser,
Aye.
Hilshewski.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Okay, moving on to city council report, sale of 111 West Madison Street is up for discussion. Bart, you want to kick it off? I know you sent back to staff to determine to do a little more due diligence on the proposals.
Yeah, there are a couple memos in the packet. One from our facilities manager, Steve Rush, getting the construction budgets and timelines. And then a second from me, giving an overview and summary of each proposal, where it currently stands. Prior to, immediately prior to packet creation, so if you didn't make the packet, I did forward all materials to both proposers. I believe both proposers are here tonight if you have any questions. Asking them to comment on the construction budget and narratives that we put together, both of which have had their construction teams review it. And I think I've received one response, waiting for the second one, no major objections at this point. Some of that is going to be phased. Both proposals have let us, both proposers have let us know after the fact. So, like in Perfect Angels, they have $250,000 plus. So that budget is generally tied to like the first phase of their development and doesn't necessarily reflect the full build out as they narrate the proposal. So there's that information in there. I'm really receiving feedback. If you have any questions that you want us to ask the proposers offline to bring back to a future meeting, whether you think one proposal is better than the other, you prefer us to start negotiations for as TIF incentives or any other assistance go, and then process. So the normal development and sale process would include some staff level discussions with the buyer as to closing dates, terms of the agreement, and then you've got the land use proposals, which you may review too. So, depending on what they propose, there may be variances or development concessions required, so we can start down that path if you want us to. The one thing that didn't make it in the memo, which was an oversight on my part, was Christie did opine that one of the uses proposed in the Perfect Angels isn't explicitly allowed in the B1 district, which is the current zoning district of the jail, but it wouldn't be a big deal to rezone it. You just have to go through that process, or as part of the sale, you have to negotiate that too. With all that being said, if anybody has any questions, happy to take them at staff level. Otherwise, we're seeking your feedback on the proposals.
Anyone?
So I kind of basically just reread what we had kind of discussed at the end of last month. And I'm in favor of like right off the bat, I'm in favor of the private proposal. Number one, puts it back in the tax roll. The construction numbers were a little bit closer to engineer's estimate. Whenever the construction estimate of the purchaser or developer is much, much lower than the construction estimate of the engineer, I get a little squeamish. But then when you look at the history, the performance history of the private proposal, they've got history to back it up. I also think there's an opportunity there for the nonprofit to potentially become a tenant in the private proposal's building, should they so agree on something. I just think it's more of a responsible decision to see where the discussion goes with the private for-profit organization as opposed to the nonprofit, because then I have a feeling that we'll be kind of coming out of pocket for a lot of assistance. I know that there was talk about sidewalks and some of the remediation. I could have a little bit of that wrong. But first glance, I'm looking at private with a detailed history versus a nonprofit with no actual performance history.
Just a couple things on that. Imperfect Angles did say that their construction team has done multiple projects similar on the scale and size of what we're talking about here. They did that as part of their proposal. They said that they could, if that was desired. It just wouldn't necessarily be under the house of like a development company or anything. Two, to the extent that they are renting portions of the building out to for-profit tenants, which is what they're proposing to do, then I believe that the majority of the property in the building would then generate property taxes. So there is still the ability, even though it's a nonprofit entity, that it could generate property taxes as a result of that. The third thing, I'm blanking on, I'm sure I'll remember in a second, but it had to do with
Those are my first observations that were going through it. I know the first initial land use was, brewery, and I'm like, wow, I'm a big fan of alcohol. I don't know if logistically that's a place where you could. I've been to 3 breweries in the last 2 days. I don't know if you could physically construct something to make it advantageous for a small brewer. I'm thinking max 5 barrel, which if you're trying to make money, 5 barrels not going to make you much money. So as far as being able to rezone it, I'm cool with being flexible. I want to see something happen. But when you look at the scope of the project and how, if you haven't taken an old building and done something and repurposed it, you know that your budget is a living being. And normally it inflates the 3 times the cost before it goes back down. And I don't know if a nonprofit has the ability to skirt all the red tape that's involved in acquiring grants for something when they, you open something up and you find, a wall of the deeds. Not that that's going to happen, but that's what can happen when you are messing with an older building. So the things that can freak you out, I think developers have more of a stomach to handle, and that's just personal experience. But again, I don't know if that land use would be appropriate for the area. I just think that I like the words for-profit as opposed to non-profit. We're trying to regenerate activity in the downtown.
I remember the third thing, the construction budget they referenced. Verbally, Tara had told me that she acknowledges that our construction budget that we sent over was within reason, and that they were expecting that a full build out of the building would be, close to $1 million in total renovation costs. So even our in-house estimate, wasn't a full rehab and rebuild. So
Right.
I think they were comfortable with the size and scope of the project, and that they could take it to the full. It's just the initial proposal was kind of for phase 1 of the proposal when we were talking about the cost.
When you're speaking with the imperfect angels, do they give a timeline then on full build out, since their numbers or their proposal kind of touched on first part?
We didn't talk about that on the phone necessarily, so I don't know if they wanted to kind of put them on the spot now, but it was not something we talked about.
Anyone else?
think you have the resources.
I didn't hear what you.
I said, in a perfect world, I would like to see you two work together.
We're open to the, should I stand up and talk about this, or?
That's,
I mean,
please.
I don't see, right now, a legal possibility of sharing ownership, but not for profit, but, I'm certainly not opposed to having a presence of this entity within the structure. I mean, certainly entertain it. We don't have a plan. The only, when I first said this, I was hesitant to suggest the root pub. That's what the architects are recommending as something that can get federal funding in the form of SBA loans. So, anyway,
No, I just think you both have things that are good to bring to it. So that's my comment.
no problem. Anyway.
Anyone else?
So with this, I take it staff has not really delved into anything regarding, the TIF structure or how much could be generated or anything of that sort, since we haven't given direction which way we want to go. So with that in mind, knowing that we have a phase one kind of proposal, and then we have a full-blown, or majority full-blown proposal for the for-profit. I do like the idea of for-profit. Now, as Joel said, he wants to see it on the tax rolls. I do too. It's good to know that if it's rental on the Perfect Angels, it does generate taxes for the municipality, which that in turn goes, or potentially we go back into a TIF. Since that's both of them have stated that they need financial assistance on it. I don't think either one would be something I'd want to preclude in terms of the opportunity. I am more inclined to have it as a for-profit facility, but I don't want to limit Imperfect Angels. Is it something that we can discuss what their financial needs are in more detail with both of them before we?
Yeah, I mean, if that's the direction of the group, that, TIF assistance and level of assistance is a major component of the ongoing negotiation. Yeah, it would be reasonable for us to direct that, give them some time to respond, maybe a couple weeks, 30 days, and then bring that back in front of you at a later date.
I think if we could do that, as well as get a little more information from the Perfect Angels on their long-term build-out and how that plan would structure, I think that would be beneficial.
May I answer?
Sure.
Well, working with my architect and my contractor, based on their experience, because of course we'll have to do a lot more, and not able to get definite numbers, but based on their prior experience, on the low side, we kind of kept it in the middle, so we're looking at $200 per square foot for this building. And then 5,000 square foot, that's how we got the number to $1 million. For the total amount. Our plan we separated in phases because we are planning for the building to be partially nonprofit, partially for-profit, which we are, if you look on the pro forma, we are planning to pay taxes for that, for the portions that we are using for residential or for commercial use. The center, which will be the nonprofit part, which is only the second floor of the main building, that would be the only part that will be tax exempt because that's what's actually been being used for the nonprofit mission. As for the numbers, so the $250,000 is what we're looking at for the first phase, which is mainly getting the building up to code, getting it gutted out, getting it to a point where it could be used because we're trying to start the revenue as quick as we can. That can possibly open up avenues for the second, third, and fourth phase. Looking at my scheduled timeline, we are looking at up to 24 months before it's at full function. For the building to be fully functional for what we're trying to do with the center, with the commercial spaces, and also with the detail shop and the three-bedroom apartment. The first phase is, besides getting up to code, the first phase also includes getting the apartment rehab and also getting the detailed storefront garage area done, so that way revenue can start. So that'll be within the first 6 to 8 months. Me and my contractors are trying to produce it to 6 6 months. It all just depends on what time of the year, where their workload is looking. We don't have a timeline of when this will actually be chosen upon and when we'll actually be able to start work. So all of that will kind of play into what that timeline looks like. But we're looking at closer to 6 months, but at the longest 8 months initially, so we can at least start building some type of revenue. And then from there, phase 2 will be the first floor, which will be the commercial spaces based on our site plan, and those will also be a revenue generator. So that's what we're working on first, is just getting money flowing. And then the center is actually our third phase, going into the fourth one, because we have a lot more work within that, because we're connecting with government agencies. We're trying to get referral site for EBT, for a lot of other financial assistance, for people who go through temporary hardship. So we're trying to do a lot more with the center, and we're just not definite on it yet, but we're working with a lot of the state agencies regarding that. So that's why we push that one to the back, so that way we can make sure that once we roll that out, we're able to bring all of the resources and all of the help that we want to bring in our plan for the center. So hopefully that kind of brings a little bit more light to why we're breaking it down into different phases and how to be more beneficial to start with the for-profit sector and then work our way towards the nonprofit part.
Thank you.
So you think you actually have funding right now, if you were able to close in like 60 days, you could right away start the first phase to get that apartment built and get something in before the end of the year?
Yes, well, I went 2 different avenues. So I have 2 grant writers that's on our back right now that's going to jump in to do the grant writing. We've already started contacting a lot of our big grant contributors, like Home Depot. They'll be a very big one because they donate materials and supplies up to $50,000. So $250,000, we have it planned out where we expect to get it. I tried to apply for one grant, and I actually got a little booted away because we didn't have ownership of the property. And they said in order to apply for their grant money, we have to have something in writing or stating that this project will go about. We can't just give you money and then if you don't get a proposal, it'll go into a lot of legal matters with trying to refund the money and things of that sort. So that's what kind of put us in a delay with the grants. But I don't think $250,000 with the opportunities that's available through local, state, and federal government funding, I don't think that it'll be an issue whatsoever. And then on top of that, I sat down with a commercial banker, and just based on imperfect angels and myself being the director and president of the program, with my credit profile and my personal business, we are pretty much eligible if we have to use any of that $250,000 or later phases, if we need to get any of that in like a rehab loan or something of that sort. So that's like our back pocket. We don't plan to do that because we have a lot of fundraisers that we have planned out. We think between the fundraisers, the events, the grants, that it shouldn't be that hard to do, but just in case, we also have the loan option if we need to do that to finance. So.
Thank you.
You weren't able to be at our last meeting when we talked about this, and we discussed, in there are the historic jail cells. In your renovation, what are you looking to do with those?
Well, a lot of options have been presented to me regarding the jail cells. There is possibility of an opportunity of them being sold for the materials they're made from, donated if needed. If anything, worst case scenario, we'll have to, after they gut it out, demolish everything, they'll probably just have to take them out and either dispose of them if they're like too rotted and no good, or find a place to recycle them. So that's what the contract is to figure out.
Ms. Worknight, you had indicated you would work around them and possible?
We're trying not to take apart any portion of the historic elements and the interior portion of the jail. If someone can identify some historic elements within the residential and front end of the building, I'm talking only about the historic portion right
Yes.
now. And if they identify it to this, the historical, if any group wants to help identify that as being historic, we'll certainly listen to them, but we can't recognize anything. It's pretty how shall I say, kind of rudimentary in the front. It's just flooring and there's no amazing banister.
Right.
And I don't even know if it was the original plan.
If it was the original what?
The front of the building, whether that layout as it is now was the original historic design. We haven't seen the plans to that. But the back, which is the jail, we don't really see a lot of elements. We don't want to take it apart. And we don't want to sell the jail cells to try and, I mean, why are you doing a historic jail and literally taking the cells out? I don't know.
Yeah, okay.
But
And have we got the paperwork in for the historic? Has it been submitted yet? You had said that it was going in the next day.
I sent him the first draft of the history part, and I'm setting it out in pieces, so. The next hearing is at the end of June, so I still have plenty of time to get that in. And remember, people working full-time on this, where professionals take over 2 years to do it. I've had less than a year, and I'm pretty darn close, so.
I appreciate your work on
This is
that.
just a spare time
I know
thing.
you had said it was going in and I wanted to know where it was.
Does anyone have any idea what the property taxes would be on this building if someone came in and made it a beautiful, commercial, viable building, dumped a $500,000 or $700,000 into it? That taxes probably wouldn't be more than 15 grand a year, I think, right?
We haven't done the analysis. Off the top of my head, I would say probably 15, 20 tops. I mean, I can go through and pull some comps in town and figure out, what similar sized buildings, what shape of buildings are generating. But off the top of my head, that sounds $10,000, $20,000.
So if the council agreed to do a TIF incentive of, say, 90%, okay, the most anyone's gonna get back on this is, what, you're looking at maybe 300,000 in TIF incentive?
Yeah,
If you're only using the increment from that building.
sure.
Then depending on if it's a business, there's opportunities for business tax as well, if they wanted to impose that on themselves. So we have a couple vehicles, but yeah, the tip is going to be limited based on the value of the building.
But, a $300,000 TIF incentive over the life of a 23-year project, it's only $1 million in total budget. I mean, that's kind of in line with what we've been doing with other projects, 20 to 30%. Yeah, total investment. So, I mean, that element isn't, on the line with previous history.
Okay, in case anyone's interested, I had one message from some gentleman who said that we went with the community-minded outfit and Perfect Angels. He threw in the other $500 to make it up to $1,000. Any other discussion? So you're going to do more of a financial analysis and
Yeah, I think that was the direction from,
bring it back?
the room was to get into the detail of actual TIF assistance, projected revenue generation for both entities. Bring it back to a meeting either 2 to 4 weeks from now, or maybe longer, depending on how long it takes for the entities to come back to us.
All righty, any other questions before we move on? Okay, thank you. Next, I'll entertain a motion to approve an ordinance approving an economic incentive agreement between the city and Cal Atlantic Main Street subdivision, and authorize the mayor and city clerk to execute.
Second?
I guess I have some mixed feelings on this one. I'm just kind of curious if it's appropriate to give Lennar or Cal Atlantic this incentive, which equals about $2.2 million, and them being a multi-billion-dollar company. I'm just not sure it's a good deal for taxpayers when all they're going to do is be building houses that are ultimately going to crowd our schools. And the reason I say that is I look back at the build program. Now, the build program, we did that at a time when we're coming off the worst recession ever. Our housing market was in the tank, and things weren't looking so good for the city. But with the entire build program, we did about $1.9 million in lost revenue. And there was about 428 homes that took advantage of the build program. Okay, but as the economy picked up, we canceled the build program because it was no longer needed. Our housing numbers still went up. And now we're looking at giving a $2.2 million incentive to a multi-billion-dollar company to build 366 homes, way bigger than the build program. And the difference is, today, our economy is booming, unemployment's at an all-time low, our housing numbers are strong, strongest they've been since the recession. So I just don't see why the taxpayers of Yorkville should be given an incentive like this. I mean, honestly, if Lennar, I think their net revenues last year were somewhere in the neighborhood of $20 billion. If they're looking to make up $2 million, why do it on the backs of Yorkville taxpayers when they can do it with a simple swipe of a pen? Okay, 366 homes, you had $5,000 for the price of each home, there's your $2 million right there. And whatever deal they have with back taxes with the county, they can deal with the county on that. But they're just kind of padding their profit margin here when they can just charge more for the product. And, you know, the thing that's really disturbing is that just like arguments against the build program, you know, you're building new homes off the backs of current residents, okay? I had people ask me all the time, when are we gonna get rid of these infrastructure fees off of our water bills? Okay, and if you're changing your water connection fee, which it should be $5,500, down to $800, you're never gonna get that infrastructure fee off of the water bill. So I just don't think that giving an incentive like this in this day and age is responsible growth. I think it's more growth at any cost. That's what I'm thinking. I'll open it up with that. I mean, I think the houses are gonna get built there eventually. You know, I mean, we've spent the last 8 years building an attractive area where people are coming, people are building houses, jobs are coming. And I just don't see a need to give such a big incentive to build houses. Obviously, you want to.
Yeah, I would love to talk about this a little bit. You talk about how the site is going to be ready to go and someone else is coming there. We're the only builders, in my knowledge, in this marketplace who take on SSA bond deals. They are a nightmare to deal with. You have to buy the bonds and you have to basically recreate them and restart. No one else has done it. We've done it successfully in 5 different sub-markets, one of which is here in Windgap Ridge, which has become a very successful development. So anyone who comes into the site is going to have to be, what, $10 million in bonds, which if they buy it, they're going to have to pay that bond money at that start and continue to pay it over and over and over again until it runs out. Secondly, they're in the ears on these taxes by millions of dollars on the back half. So to say that someone's going to come here and build it just isn't an inaccurate statement. These things would have been taken off a long time ago. These are 366 units in some market that is very strong. These are the most upside down lots left in the marketplace. And we've successfully just did one in Stonegate in Manhattan. Same type of deal. You know, there's no one else out there doing these. So if we walk and we move, you're going to be stuck with 366 units. That you have homeowners out there who are dying to struggle on HOA fees. And think that another builder's going to come in here is just not an accurate statement. I mean, it hasn't improved in the market yet. No one does it. You have to be able to go in and deal with the bonds. You have to buy them. You have to ownership. You're going to take on that risk of owning the bonds. That's the biggest issue of all. And unless you're willing to do that, the deal just falls through and does not work. You know, so you've got 600, I think it was 600, 900 units planned for that subdivision at one point. You've still got 366 left that needs to be built out. Those roads are going to get worse. Those curbs are going to get worse. And infrastructure is going to get worse. And you know what? You guys own it. You pulled the bonds. You guys finished it off. We're coming in. We're going to finish off some of the work that wasn't completed. We're going to prepay stuff. I heard some issues about the school district. We met with the superintendent of schools. He understands the growth. This site, by the way, produced $1.2 million worth of fees already. It produced a school site, which is 20 acres for the middle school. It's going to produce another $579,000 to the school district, and we're donating another couple $100 a unit to the foundation. So I don't know what else we can possibly do to that particular community. This community was planned actually started in 1999, 20 years ago. This community was originally planned. The schools were planned for it. It has a school site within the community. So to say that the schools aren't up for it is not a great statement. We met with Dr. Schiff and discussed it with him. So I'm telling you guys right now, I mean, this is not an easy deal. The other ones you're talking about in the marketplace, they're not backwards from this. They don't have these SSAs tied. It's a completely different animal. So I just want to learn. To my knowledge, again, we're the only builders who've been willing to do this in the marketplace. This is a large building. And one more thing, you're throwing out large numbers about those. This is still the worst housing market in the United States. If you look at the stuff in John Clark's report, it has it still on the bottom. It hasn't even hit cycle 2, or cycle 3, or cycle 4. Some guys are already dipping around the left side. So again, this is not an easy market to play in. And our goal here is to get these communities up and finished and completed, so you guys can then grow in a different route. But as long as you have these things sitting there and the infrastructure being deteriorated, that's not doing anyone any good.
Now, the current owner, I guess, is MS Rialto.
Yes,
Now, that's a subsidiary of Lennar, correct?
incorrect. Morgan Stanley is obviously not a subsidiary. Rialto was, we sold that back in the day. We are no longer owners of Rialto. So I'm buying this site from the sellers, just like I would any other site.
This site has been sitting on. We've seen some great recovery in the south side of town. I mean, several developments down there that installed when that's almost built out or basically built out. We've had other ones that have come online again that haven't been active. Country Hills is rebuilding homes. We've got all kinds of development on the south side filling in these vacancies. At this point, just had no movement in 10 years. And those other developments were smaller. They were able to be dealt with. You know, you mentioned you picked up the debt, you dealt with the fees that were attached to that one. These types of developments do need deep pockets in order to make it work. And yes, and you can always say that a deep-pocketed company can come and pony up money and make it work. However, that's not the way they operate. They are there to make a profit. Plain and simple, we have to acknowledge that. As a city, we have to look out for the residents and our bottom line for the tax dollars. You know, we're on different sides of this. However, this is the last big piece of current development that has infrastructure. We pulled bonds. We are obligated to maintain these roads. We've blocked off roads that we have so that people can't drive on them, so that they stay in good condition. We have an obligation to maintain it. I mean, we can keep them for another 10, 15 years, have no homes in these parts of the neighborhood units, and keep maintaining it. That's fine if that's the decision we want to do, but we have a buyer at the table who's willing to actually build. They need some concessions. More or less, they're looking for the same fees that were set in the annexation agreement that was approved in '99. Granted, we've had some significant increases in our fees since then, but that's because we had not raised many of our fees until several years ago. We had to, because our fees were neglected. We locked them, we held them, we didn't raise them. So now, yes, we're going to lose out on some fees that come in, absolutely. But is it better to leave this development vacant with nothing, or is it better to actually start developing? We talked about the build program a minute ago that we lost, was it $1.9 million? 1.9. Conservatively, over 6 years of the program, with 428 homes with the average tax bill, that's about $1.2 million conservatively. That would have been generated. We're not whole by any means yet, but that's progress. That's showing that those homes are contributing to the tax base. It's going to take time for us to offset what we had as a subsidy for that project. But at least we have homes that are built, they're continuing to be built, and this is one area, as you said, it's upside down and it's not going to be built, I don't believe, unless we negotiate, which is what has been going on for the past year. Staff's been back and forth, the county's been back and forth. I don't want to lose an opportunity to have development on a piece of property that the city actually has a vested interest in. We have an obligation to maintain property out there, roads, sewers, infrastructure. So I'd like us to consider this. Yes, we are giving away some of our fees that we would have. But this is something that we have to consciously go into, knowing that in the long term, we're going to own what was a farm field that isn't going to be farmed because it's partially developed. Or we're going to see homes and we're going to continue the development of the community. I mean, we have people on this council that want a grocery around the south side of town. Well, the studies have said rooftops. Well, we know that now that's not going to happen probably because around 47 vacant it's too easy to get to the north side for a grocery. But we still have this land that we need to do something with. And I don't think that just sitting here talking about it and saying, well, we're going to give away $2 million, they should just pony up $2 million and be done with it, is the right way to go. I think we need to find a conscious middle ground here, and I think this is something that we can actually work with. They've had a great conversation with the school district. They're, like I said, there's a school site on here. This was known that it was going to generate students from day one, this development. Every single time that somebody comes in and says, well, we didn't know that it was going to impact the school. Baloney. Every project goes before the school district. They know what it's going to generate. They're actually donating, I saw the number earlier, but they're donating funds directly to the Yorkville Education Foundation. That's not something they have to do. It's something that they worked out on a separate side with the school district. So they're working with our local partners to try to work something out and actually come to terms with it. I don't want this to get hung up on the fact that we're giving something away. Yes, we are. It's fees, but it's a conscious decision. We have to acknowledge that we want development to continue, or we're going to take this as a city and say we're just going to let it fall apart again like we've had other developments fall apart. And Joe, I know that you have lived in a community for 12 years that fell apart around. This one's going to fall apart without any homes there. Are we willing to accept it? I'm not.
Yeah, the schools aren't giving up any of their transition fees, are they? They're getting their full fees, right?
They are getting full fees.
The only ones reducing fees is our taxpayers in Yorkville, correct?
In that, yes, we are locking them in at the rate that they were, correct me if I'm wrong, at the rate they were by the original annexation agreement. Yes.
Yeah, so we have like two fears here. One is you decline the offer and everything sits there. Now, being someone who has lived in a relatively dormant neighborhood since 2006, and understand the impact that it had on everyone that lives there. Abandoned infrastructure, crumbling streets, no curbs, gaps in sidewalks. Like my son plays baseball in this neighborhood. And also, if you've ever been to middle school, you drive into this neighborhood. Without construction activity in this particular part of town, the area around two very large resources, one being the park and one being the school, it's all going to continue to deteriorate because it's not being actively built. And my concern is that we're talking about $2 million. We talked about $2 million with my roads. I got 140 houses, I think, with 71 empty lots. So I have a much smaller community, and my roads took a beating for over a decade, and we had to come out of pocket. And there's all this legal red tape. I mean, the legal red tape can basically pave my roads. And now we're talking about having all of the complexities of all of those bonds and all of the back taxes that the counties had to deal with. We actually have a resolution. Is the cost of the legal fees that went into making this agreement going to be a waste because we're saying, no, we don't want to spend $2.2 million? I'm pretty sure we spent pretty close to that negotiating the roads that I was promised when I moved to Yorkville with the bond that I paid for. The only comments that really make sense on this are, on the big term, is how fast. Because if we're talking about money, $2 million is letting a neighborhood of 400 houses and not fixing their roads for 5 years. That's what it's going to cost. Between curb rebuilds and, God, the amount of grass seed these people are going to have to do in my neighborhood, if we don't build it all at once and let it thrive, we're running the risk of people going, you know what, fine, take care of it yourself. And I don't think the cash is as much a problem as the fact that they have a skill set in negotiating and getting through the SSA issues. I remember that being something that I needed somebody to draw on a whiteboard just to explain to me what the hell they were talking about. If that's your niche and you're ready to pull the trigger and it's $2 million versus waiting and letting somebody else go through all the education of becoming an expert in one niche of development and then having them negotiate with the county and then waiting for an agreement to come through, which may or may not be better or worse than this, I think what we're doing is we're setting ourselves up to fail with the idea that we're going to look like we're being weak, when in actuality, the other times that we stood our ground, we've actually lost. I think this is an area where things are turning around, but we need to allow people to thrive in the markets that they have created for themselves. You guys have the expertise. You managed to wind through that maze of the SSA debacle. I think you have to kind of weigh the risk of, if they run and we're left with this still, it's a mess. How much are we on the hook for to take care of all this property that has no property development?
And that's what my fear is. I understand not wanting to give it away, but not wanting to give it away at what cost? What's the difference between the two?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I mean, on this one, I had vacillated back and forth between supporting and not supporting it. And Joe actually makes an excellent point. What we're giving up is $2.2 million that we don't have. It's not money that we have, and we're giving it up. If it doesn't get built out, we still don't have the $2.2 million. We don't have the collection fee. We don't have the water fee. We don't have any of those fees because it's going to be dormant. And we've taken over that infrastructure. So if nothing gets developed for 5 years, 10 years, now you're going to actually spend more than $2 million of real money, not money that you don't have, or you might have, or you could have. You're going to actually spend real money like we did in Whispering Meadows to bring the infrastructure up to par. I was the biggest opponent of the mill program. Everybody knows that. That's no secret here. But I think Joe is right. We can't take a position to look strong when 10 years from now, we're going to be on a couple $1 million to bring this infrastructure back to par. And I agree that this is not a typical subdivision. There's the SSA bond, the debacle, and we have a builder who's willing to deal with that hot potato. Those do not come off around very often. They just don't. So although I sympathize and I understand what the mayor's position is, as far as representing this board and getting this whole film, I would ask for your consideration to pass this today and let us get this started. As a safeguard, what we have going for us is that part of the agreement is that they don't acquire the property by December 31st of this year. The agreement is null and void. So they're either going to acquire the property and put their money where their mouth is, or they're not going to acquire the property and the agreement goes out the window anyway. So I would ask for your consideration for the residents of Ward 1 to get this done so we can move forward. Now being alderman for another 10 minutes. So my opinion really doesn't matter anymore.
Hi, my name is Rick Murphy. I'm from Atlantic. I just think now is a good time to get into a little history here on the agreement and work closely with staff on the agreement. We came into this looking at the Fifth Amendment to the annexation agreement. It basically says that at final plat, for all 6 units, paid all applicable development fees, school and park transition fees, connection fees, water siren fees, municipal building fees, interceptor fee, sanitary sewer fee, river crossing fee. So this is where we started, okay, under the assumption that everything was paid, and hence the long process with staff. We had different records and everything. There's a substantial amount of fees that are paid. And to say that the city is coming $2.2 million out of pocket, I don't think is accurate, because all this is actually us fronting money and getting some fixed fees as a result. Our water connection fees did start at $800 a piece. And I think Christie was able to demonstrate that for 4 of these units, these were all prepaid. The $3,000 a unit for the remaining far outstrips the amount of money that would have been due at $800 a unit. So there's a substantial amount of fees that are paid. Not only that, we're in here, we're talking about that there's a shortfall to complete the subdivision improvements. We're funding a shortfall in this agreement. Okay, we're prepaying development fees, all of them, to the tune of $384,000. So the city's not out any money in this deal. So, hence, this is why it took us so long to reconcile with staff. Staff is making sure everything is accurate and correct. So, if I can give any more, I have maybe a little too much detail you don't care about, but, I think we want to characterize this properly and what really is going on here.
I learned my first day on the city council, you need to learn how to count to 5. So that's how I will go off on my last day. I called the question.
Just remember, $20 billion company. Roll call, please.
Call the question.
Motion? Oh, sorry.
No.
Nope.
The question.
Nope.
He closed the bank.
Oh,
Doors closed.
You want this question,
No,
Miguel?
call the question.
Roll call.
Butcher,
Aye.
Peters,
Aye.
Truist,
Aye.
Colosimo,
Aye.
Funkelsser,
Aye.
Wilczewski,
Aye.
Peterson,
Nay.
Coe.
Aye.
Motion passes.
All righty. What else do we have?
Appreciate it. Thanks,
All right, city clerk's report.
Yes, Your Honor, I have a report like Alderman Colosimo. I have just a few more moments here left on the city council, and I would like to thank the residents of Yorkville for allowing me to serve this great city for the last 8 years. It's been a great honor to be sitting here and working with all of you. It's been a privilege. Also a privilege to be the last elected city clerk of Yorkville, so that's kind of exciting as of now. So thank you so much for the opportunity. Look forward to the future and spending more time with my husband and soon to be high schooler and middle schooler. Oh boy, no. And good luck to all of you. Thank you.
Do we have any community and liaison reports?
Just one, the petitioner for Lenny's Gas and Wash over in Foxville is actually having a open house tomorrow from 5 to 7 at the library in order to talk about their development proposal for the gas station. So just want to put it out there. Thank you.
Any other? Yes.
Just a quick non-update for the National Suicide Prevention and Action Month Proclamation Project. On Thursday, I'm going to be joining Hope for the Day at the Village of Westmont City Council meeting to discuss suicide prevention, the proclamation, and other prevention activities that I've been involved in lately. But since this is your last meeting, I wanted to say publicly, thank you for literally kicking the crap out of me over the phone to kind of empower me to get over my own hurts. A lot of people have a difficult time, me included, talking about the impacts of suicide. And I can honestly say that Mary Gary Lewinsky calmed me down a little bit and said, well, you have to do something. Do something. And as simple as that sentence and that comment was, the last 3 years of my life have been pretty insane. But that moment in July of 2017 where I had to kind of go, I'm hurting. Mayor Gary Lewinsky kind of got me on my phone. So I wanted to help and say thank you, sir. I greatly respect and appreciate the help that you've given me. I'm sorry I still can't talk about suicide without crying in public, but it sucks. So thank you for helping it suck a little less. I greatly appreciate it.
No, and I appreciate all your efforts when it comes to suicide prevention. And like I've said many times, I mean, even the smallest act of kindness can change somebody's life. You never know. So thank you for all your work, Joe. Any other community and liaison reports? Staff reports? Additional business, and like Beth and Joel just said, this will be my last meeting. In fact, I'm traveling May 14th, so I won't even get to hand the gavel to John. Ken is going to have to hand the gavel over. But it's been an incredible honor. I served the city for 14 consecutive years, the last 8 years as mayor, and we've accomplished quite a bit. You know, the city's in good shape right now. We've done a lot of great things. I've had the opportunity to work with some amazing public servants and some obviously amazing staff. I just want to thank everyone for the opportunity and wish everyone the best of luck.
Wait, I have one quick thing.
Oh, go
I
ahead.
have a question. Wayfaring signs, they're up. There's nothing in them.
We are creating maps and different materials to insert in the kiosks.
Do we know when it'll happen?
Probably, we have 2 maps that we created for the park district, and then we're creating a downtown location map.
Okay. Hi, they just need something, they're kind
They
of lonely
do,
looking.
they do.
Thank you.
Since you brought that up, that one sign by Crusadeburg, when you are heading southbound,
Yes.
you had a little sign right
It's
there.
barely, you
Yes.
see it.
Cut it down.
We are trying to reach out to the railroad and the IDOT to see if there's anything we can do to remove that fine and put it over.
Do something.
Yeah.
And they won't,
the snowplow hit it.
they won't even, they won't even notice I'm missing. We have no executive session tonight. Any citizen comments? Anything that might be on your mind? Meeting adjourned. Yeah.